Welcome to 𝗱vie in Motion. My name is Diane, and I am the virtual nurse who will guide you through this session. Being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. This is a kind of announcement that is inciting strong reactions and many questions from you and your spouse. This diagnosis also carries its share of emotions and probably is stress for both of you. During this session, I invite you to explore different aspects to help you to better digest this news, to choose strategies tailored to your situation, and to stay hopeful. A diagnosis such as Parkinson's disease never comes at the right time. Maybe you are still working or have recently retired and thought you would have some quality time together. This announcement is like receiving a brick on your head. You may feel stunned, dizzy, and not sure where to start and where to go. However, with time, proper information and support, it is possible to tame the disease to better address all that comes with it. You are not the only ones who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. For instance, in Quebec, approximately 25,000 people live with Parkinson's. The majority are accompanied by their spouse, followed by children, family members, or close friends who takes over to provide support. Faced with this diagnosis, you each react in your own way. Your reactions are modulated, among other things, by your personality, the time of your life when this diagnosis occurs, your overall health, and your family situation. You probably have some questions in mind as well. To help you cope with this uncomfortable situation, experiences from different couples will be presented throughout this session. I invite you to listen to 3 couples on this subject.
For me, it was a shock. I just heard the doctor say the words Parkinson's disease, and that moment felt like an eternity. I was confused, like in a fog.
My spouse was in his head, stunned. For my part, I wondered, what does it really mean to have this disease? What are the implications for him?
Yes, once out of the fog, a few days later, I asked myself, what is happening to me? How does this disease progress? I made up my mind to ask these questions to the doctor at the next meeting.
After imagining myself having all kinds of illnesses, I was relieved to be able to put a name to the symptoms I was having.
She was really relieved to be able to eliminate other diseases.
I thought to myself, now that I have a name for it, is there a pill to relieve the symptoms? Who knows, maybe to prevent quite a few other problems? Anyhow, to be able to live my life as best as I can.
Yes, to try to live our life as best as possible, my spouse and I.
To better manage the consequences of the disease.
When the doctor mentioned that I was showing signs of Parkinson's disease, I was scared. All kinds of questions ran to my head. How did I get it? Did I do something wrong? What causes it?
It's as if he felt guilty for having this disease. The doctor tried to reassure him, and me too.
You know, it's hard to accept this verdict. I slowly went from fear to anger. I resented everyone, even my wife.
Couples sharing their experience following the announcement of the diagnosis wonder about the implications of this news on one another and on their lives. The physical, psychological, social, and financial aspects are affected by this announcement, and it also impacts the couple's relationship. To receive and digest this verdict arouses emotions and manifestations of stress. It's quite normal to feel this. There is a whole possible range of emotions. Unpleasant emotions such as fear, anger, sadness, guilt, as well as fears about the future or that the disease is taking up a lot of space. People may also see this announcement as a relief. Finally, they know what is going on and can put a name to the symptoms that have been felt and observed for some time. Gradually, over time, and as the diagnosis becomes familiar, more pleasant emotions can come back into your daily life. However, the path is not always in a straight line. There can be ups and downs, good days and bad days. Let's listen to what some couples say.
When I was diagnosed with it, I went through all kinds of emotions. It was the first time in my life that I felt that way. I was mixed up.
You felt guilty, you were scared, and then afterwards, you were angry.
It wasn't easy to bear with me, right? When I went back to see the doctor, she reassured me by telling me that it's normal to experience all kinds of emotions and that over time, with some adjustments in our lifestyle and with treatments, that things would get easier to deal with.
Phew, it really came as a shock. Then, afterwards, you start thinking, the little hamster runs all the time in your head.
I can confirm that. He always has to worry about the future. I ended up worrying too. I don't know if there's anything we can do to manage more effectively.
I mentioned before that it is normal to experience a range of emotions and to have many questions about the past, present, as well as the future. Here are some questions you may be concerned about and useful information to be well prepared when announcing the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease mainly affects people over the age of 60, more men than women, in a ratio of 3 men to 2 women. This disease also affects those around the affected person. It is estimated that for one person with the disease, nearly 3 people around them are involved. Parkinson's disease is linked to a slow and progressive loss of nerve cells, called neurons, located at the base of the brain. It is mainly the substantia nigra neurons that produce dopamine that are affected. Over time, symptoms become visible at the motor level, such as slowness, stiffness in movement, tremor, but rarely alter symptoms at the beginning. There are also less visible non-motor symptoms, which may present themselves such as fatigue, sleep disturbances, difficulty concentrating, and organizing one's thoughts, which can cause anxiety and depression. We do not know the exact cause of the disease, but research points out that there are predisposing factors, such as genetic and environmental factors. Parkinson's disease is not an hereditary disease in itself, but sometimes a family background can contribute to it. Research results show that toxic substances, among others, certain pesticides, herbicides, and heavy metals could influence dopaminergic neurons degeneration. It is likely that there is a combination of these two factors in this disease, which also evolves with aging. The treatment of Parkinson's disease mainly involves taking medications that compensate for the decrease in dopamine in the brain and improve management of motor and non-motor symptoms. At each stage of the disease, it is important to reduce motor difficulties by maximizing the effectiveness of the medication. Combined with a well-balanced diet and daily physical and cognitive activities, the goal is to delay the transition to the next stage of the disease. We are not talking about a cure, but about alleviating and better controlling the symptoms of Parkinson's to preserve your quality of life and continue the activities that are important to you. Parkinson's disease is a chronic disease, but not fatal. Its evolution generally takes place over several years and varies from one individual to another, depending on the characteristics of each person and the other health problems present. The person living with the disease must be vigilant with regard to the symptoms that already exist at the motor and non-motor level, such as loss of smell, a writing disorder, fatigue, as well as the appearance of new symptoms. There are certain phases that are common to all, including the adaptation phase following the announcement of the diagnosis, a phase of equilibrium where the symptoms are relatively well controlled, and a phase of fluctuating symptoms. According to clinical and research knowledge, 4 elements are essential to consider, including taking medication on a regular schedule, a well-balanced diet, daily exercises, and socialization. These elements aim to improve the symptoms control and the comfort and quality of life for people living with Parkinson's. In addition, certain strategies tailored to your current situation, to you and your loved one, could improve your well-being, make the diagnosis more digestible, and also help you use your own tools to bounce back better. I invite you to consult and print the fact sheet about diagnosis and useful information. There is an expression that we often hear: take care of yourself. Taking care of yourself and others is easier said than done, isn't it? You have also heard Mrs. Ann wondering if there is a possibility of doing something to manage the emotions and reactions related to the diagnosis and, at the same time, start taking care of each other. We therefore suggest that you start with a breathing exercise so that, very gently, the concerns which take up all the space calm down by focusing on the present moment, on the back and forth of the abdomen. Why? Because breathing is a fundamental need for every human being in order to maintain their health. It has also been shown by neuroscience research teams that deep abdominal breathing creates an expansion effect of the diaphragm that helps to decrease the stress response. Take the time to sit comfortably. Place your hands on your abdomen. Inflate your abdomen like a balloon and then deflate your abdomen very slowly. Ideally, you count to 5 and take a nice, slow breath in. We inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This deep abdominal breathing can be repeated 3 to 5 times. I encourage you to repeat this exercise a few times during the day while sitting, standing, or lying down, and when the need arises. By taking the time to breathe before starting a more demanding activity or before going to sleep, you put yourself in better conditions. You'll see, with practice, it will become a very useful reflex for you. Let's hear what couples are saying about it.
When I breathe, as the nurse explained to us, I focus on the movement of my hand on my stomach, so the little hamster stops running. He calms down and disappears for a while.
Now my husband and I schedule at least 1 breathing session a day. It feels good. It relieves tension in the shoulders. My spouse and I are also more relaxed and pleasant.
Yeah, always thinking about this disease. It doesn't make sense. We will continue to take deep, slow breaths, my wife and I. Actually, it makes us feel better. What would also help me would be to have answers to some of my questions, to better deal with the disease and about what's to come with it.
Yes, but we want reliable and easy to understand information.
I've just been told that I have Parkinson's. I want to read everything on this disease. I want to know everything.
You want to read everything about Parkinson's? I find you already very tired and upset enough as it is. I would not like you to think that you're going to develop everything that is written. Maybe we could look at it together with a more rested head, like after the breathing exercises that we learned in the physical activity and relaxation group.
Yeah, that really does calm me down. Maybe instead of taking it in one piece, one step at a time would be less stressful for me and for you.
Always, in order to better manage the stress, how can information on Parkinson's disease be obtained? Each in their own way, the two couples are asking legitimate questions. Various information are available, including understanding the disease, diet, exercise, medication and its side effects, as well as resources that can help you. There are many sources of information. The first source is your doctor, whether a neurologist or a family doctor, not to mention your pharmacist. Perhaps there is a specialized clinic for Parkinson's in your area or health professionals with an interest in this domain. To get an overview of the disease and the resources available, there are 2 reliable primary sources to start your research. First of all, the websites of Parkinson Quebec and Parkinson Avia region provide you with information on the disease, on how to get support, on research, and on other relevant information. Parkinson Quebec also offers a downloadable reference guide, the 𝗱ощ Parkinson Guide, Everyday Life with Parkinson Disease, intended for people with the disease as well as their partners and those around them. And second, the 𝗵𝗲𝗿𝗂𝗺 website offers a downloadable document updated each year entitled Parkinson Disease, which includes a directory of resources, reading suggestions, as well as films and documentaries. In addition, it gives you some leads to develop a critical reading in connection with the multitude of websites available. Let's listen to the following couple about the critical reading of the information found.
There is something that caught my attention. The nurse talked about reliable sources and to develop our critical sense regarding the information readily available on the internet. But still, we shouldn't start getting scared with all this info.
We could go and look at the document that gives some clues on this subject.
Perhaps by looking at the sites that are offered, we'll also find information on the support available to help us. It would be better to make friends before being in need.
Better safe than sorry.
I invite you to consult the fact sheet about critical reading to better sort out the information available on the internet. I have already given you some tips for obtaining information on Parkinson's disease and certain resources via websites. I now invite you to find out what are the resources and the support available before having to use them. According to people living with Parkinson's and their loved ones, the ability to seek and accept support has a protective effect for couples. In fact, there are two types of support: the formal support and the informal support. Let's begin with the formal support. In the first place, it comes from the doctor who pronounced the diagnosis. It is essential to have a doctor, patient, family, caregiver partnership for follow-up information about your treatment and care recommendations for an optimal adjustment of the medication. The relationship of trust is built gradually, and it is a win-win situation for everyone when this happens. Other health professionals, for example, nurse, physiotherapist, occupational therapist, nutritionist, speech therapist, can be of great help in order to better equip you at the beginning of your journey with Parkinson's and through all the trajectory of the disease. The Community Local Services Center in your neighborhood is a resource to consider in order of getting access to some of these professionals. At the individual level, it's possible that you and your loved one will need support, whether through an information support helpline, such as the one offered by Parkinson Quebec, or from 𝗱ощ Care Partner Support Helpline. Besides, you may also need the help of a psychologist following the announcement of the diagnosis. I invite you to consult the website of the Order of Psychologists of Quebec, which offers an easy-to-use tool that will allow you to find help according to your needs in your area or locality, your preferences, your situation, and your income. If you want to join a group to discuss different topics, there are also support groups in different regions of Quebec for people living with Parkinson's, and often groups also for their care partners. Consult the websites of Parkinson Quebec and Parkinson of your region to find out more about this. Also, there is self-groups in community centers geared towards your age group or your interests, regardless of your health condition. There is something for every taste. It's up to you to choose what suits you best. As already mentioned, there is also another equally important type of support, which is the informal support. It comes from those around you, for instance, from your children, relatives, friends, or neighbors. Indeed, socialization is a powerful shield to counter the disease, reduce the related stress, and prevent isolation. When we talk about socialization, we refer to individual or couple activities, and also about activities with people who are significant to you and who make you feel good. If you feel like participating in activities in your neighborhood, such as walking or reading club, a community garden, a choir, or an art workshop, now is the good time to take part in those types of activities in order to stay in shape, to boost your morale, and keep the spirits high. Maybe there are hobbies or exercises that you were already doing in a group. Why not continue them or discover others? Let's listen to what Mrs. Catherine and Mr. Charles have to share with us.
I am beginning to tolerate this famed diagnosis much better. It didn't make sense to always be angry. I kept exercising by walking my dog. It helps me to reduce my stress, to simply keep my mind occupied.
We continue to do activities, sometimes alone, sometimes together or with people we know. It gives us a chance to talk to one another. We even went back to the day when the doctor said the famous words, Parkinson disease.
Yes, we talked about the diagnosis. I am talking about it with my wife. We even shared the thoughts that one day we should discuss about the disease to those around us.
The couple opens the door to some reflection on the notion of sharing the diagnosis with significant people around them. This couple, like many others living with Parkinson's, ponders and reflects on the announcement of the diagnosis and its implications. Let me suggest a few things to consider in this reflection. The diagnosis. Why talk about it? Why not talk about it? Talk to whom? Who is going to announce it? When? How to get ready for it? To learn more about this subject and prepare yourself, I invite you to consult the fact sheet about diagnosis, talking about it or not talking about it, to those around you. Hope. It's a delicate subject, but it is to be considered if you wish to get back on track after the diagnosis, while respecting the rhythm of each person. Hope is having the confidence that we can live what we have to live with Parkinson's disease, as so many others do, as we do. Pass through this ordeal as we have succeeded several times in the past. Adjust. Meet daily challenges as a person with Parkinson's and as a care partner. Be proactive. Stay busy while respecting your strengths, your limits, your personality, your life goals, as well as your personal tastes, and as a couple. Talk to each other. and explore possible pathways to deal with the diagnosis. And finally, anticipate advances in technology and research concerning drugs and treatments. For some people, it also means getting involved in different projects as patient or care partners. Why maintain hope and realistic optimism? It is recognized that using the various strategies we propose would have favorable repercussions on the physical and psychological experience with the disease, on your quality of life as a couple, and with those around you, and on the ability to mobilize your actions towards a concrete goal and well-being. The announcement of a diagnosis like Parkinson's disease provokes reactions and brings up questions. That's normal. Recognizing the emotions aroused by this announcement will help you to better cope with this diagnosis and to bounce back to manage, one day at a time, this new life trajectory. There are strategies tailored to your life experience, such as ways to better manage stress through breathing exercise, research and usage of reliable information, support from professionals, from those around you, and finally, commitment in your community. In your reflections, you realize that sharing the diagnosis with significant people is also to be considered. It can help you and lead others to understand better what Parkinson's disease is all about, what you are going through, and what are the things that make you feel good in these turbulent emotional moments. Lastly, let's keep in mind this key message. Staying hopeful in different ways can play a beneficial role in your daily life and the announcement of Parkinson's. I encourage you to pick at least one strategy and to practice regularly over the next few days and months. Observe while taking those concrete steps that they bring to you and share them in turn so that others can also bounce back following the diagnosis. Sessions of 𝗱ซี้in Motion, which are covering a wide variety of topics, are also available to better support you on a daily basis. Do not hesitate to consult them and pass them on to those around you. By doing so, you are helping to reduce the myths surrounding Parkinson's and to promote helpful strategies that are accessible to everyone.